My name is Megan Shaw. My sister crossed the line with my daughter. I didn't react. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I made one move. It was supposed to be a nice holiday lights viewing party at my parents' house in the suburbs of New York. The yard was full of twinkling lights, kids running around with hot chocolate, everyone laughing. My 7-year-old daughter Chloe had been saving for months in her clear glass jar labeled Chloe's Dream Bike Fund. $2,400. She was so proud of it. She wanted to show everyone how close she was to getting the bike she'd been dreaming about. Then my sister showed up. She saw that jar sitting on the gift table with the other kids' things. Right there, in front of Chloe and everyone, she picked it up, turned it upside down, and poured every single bill and coin into her own bag. She didn't even try to hide it. She looked straight at my little girl and said it was fair. I stood there watching the whole thing. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face calm. I didn't make a scene. I didn't say a word in that moment, because I already knew exactly what I was going to do. And that same night, her world started breaking. If you've ever watched someone in your own family cross the line with your child and wondered what you would do, smash that like button right now and subscribe. You're not going to believe what happened next. The party got going right around 7. People were gathered in my parents' backyard, the strings of colorful lights already glowing against the dark December sky. Kids chased each other across the grass, while adults stood with mugs of hot chocolate. I stayed close to Chloe as she carried her jar from group to group. She had worked hard for every dollar inside it, doing extra chores and saving birthday money all year. My sister Abigail arrived almost an hour late with her 2 children. She hugged Mom and Dad first, then waved at a few relatives. For a while, everything felt normal. Abigail chatted with Wayne about his recent doctor visit and laughed with Joan over some old family story. Her kids ran off to join the others near the snack table. Chloe tugged my hand and asked if she could show her jar to her cousins. I nodded and watched her walk over to the small gift table where a few presents for the younger ones sat. She set the jar down carefully so everyone could see the label. Abigail noticed it almost immediately. She stepped closer, picked up the jar, and turned it in her hands. Without saying anything to me, she unscrewed the lid right there in front of Chloe. She tilted the jar and poured all the bills and coins straight into her large shoulder bag. The sound of money hitting the bottom of the bag was unmistakable. Chloe froze, her eyes wide. Abigail snapped the lid back on the empty jar and placed it back on the table. She looked down at my daughter and said calmly, "It's fair. My kids deserve nicer gifts this holiday. You understand, right?" Several family members nearby heard her. A few conversations paused. Abigail didn't lower her voice or try to explain further. She simply adjusted the strap of her bag and turned toward the snack table as if nothing unusual had happened. I stood 10 feet away and saw every second of it. My hands stayed at my sides. I didn't step forward. I didn't raise my voice. I kept my breathing steady even though my chest felt tight. Abigail glanced my way once, then continued talking to one of our aunts about the lights display. Chloe's lower lip started to tremble, but she didn't cry out loud yet. She just stared at the empty jar on the table. The party continued around us. More laughter floated from the other side of the yard. Someone turned up the music, playing soft holiday songs. Wayne offered Abigail another cup of hot chocolate and asked how work had been lately. Joan smiled and nodded along with whatever Abigail was saying. I remained exactly where I was, watching my sister move through the crowd like the evening was still perfect. Chloe's lower lip trembled harder. She stared at the empty jar on the table, then looked up at her aunt. A single sob escaped before she could stop it. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. She didn't scream or throw a tantrum. She just stood there, small shoulders shaking, clutching the front of her coat. Abigail glanced down at her niece and shrugged. "It's only money, sweetie. You'll earn more someday." I watched from the same spot, still not moving. My hands stayed loose at my sides. The music kept playing and people kept laughing a few yards away, but the circle around the gift table had gone quiet. Wayne stepped closer first. He put a hand on Abigail's shoulder and said in a low voice, "Come on, let's not make this a big deal tonight. Your sister is going through a rough patch with the divorce, and the kids' Christmas lists are longer than usual. Joe nodded quickly beside him. She reached for Chloe's hand, but my daughter pulled away. Your aunt needs this more right now, honey. Family helps family. You're a big girl. You can start saving again after the holidays. Abigail gave a small smile and adjusted the bag on her shoulder. Exactly. It's fair. My two have been asking for those expensive tablets and the new winter coats. Chloe's just 7. She doesn't need a fancy bike yet. More relatives turned their heads. No one spoke up. Someone offered Abigail another cookie from the snack table, and she took it without missing a beat. Chloe wiped her face with her sleeve, but the tears kept coming. She looked straight at me, waiting for me to say something. I met her eyes for a second, then looked back at my sister. I still didn't raise my voice. I didn't demand the money back. I didn't tell my parents. They were wrong in front of everyone. Instead, I walked over, knelt down, and gently took Chloe's hand. Let's go inside for a minute, okay? She nodded, sniffling. I led her across the yard toward the back door of the house. Behind me, I heard Wayne telling Abigail, "See? Everything's fine. Megan understands." Joan added something about how kids get over things quickly. Abigail laughed softly at a joke one of the uncles made. The party sounds followed us until the door closed. Inside the warm kitchen, the noise dulled to a murmur. Chloe leaned against the counter, still holding my hand tight. Her breathing was shaky, but she wasn't wailing. I grabbed a paper towel and wiped her cheeks without saying much. She kept glancing toward the window, back at the yard, where the lights still twinkled and her empty jar sat on the table. Outside, the conversations picked up again. I could hear Abigail's voice carrying clearly as she described the gifts she planned to buy with the cash. Wayne chuckled. Joan offered to refill her mug. I stayed in the kitchen with my daughter, letting the party continue without us for now. The kitchen felt quieter once the door shut behind us. I pulled out a chair at the small table and helped Chloe sit down. She kept rubbing her eyes with the back of her hand. I wet another paper towel under the faucet and gently cleaned the last streaks from her face. She didn't speak at first. I didn't push her. After a minute, she whispered, "Why did Aunt Abigail take all my money?" I folded the towel and set it aside. I saw what happened. Chloe looked down at her empty hands. She said it was fair. I nodded once. She did. Outside the window, the party lights still flashed in patterns across the snow-dusted grass. I could see silhouettes moving around the snack table. Abigail's laugh carried faintly through the glass. I sat across from my daughter and kept my voice low. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt other people. That doesn't make it right. Chloe's shoulders slumped. But Grandpa and Grandma said I should just start saving again. I reached over and brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. They said that, yes. She stayed quiet for a while, tracing a pattern on the wooden table with her finger. I let the silence sit between us. My mind kept replaying the moment Abigail tilted the jar, the coins hitting the bottom of her bag, the calm way she told a 7-year-old it was fair. 2 years ago, I had co-signed a $28,000 car loan for my sister. She had just gone through her divorce and needed reliable transportation for the kids. Alan, my ex-husband, had warned me against it, but I did it anyway because she asked, and our parents thought it was the right thing. The paperwork listed me as the co-signer. I still carried that responsibility. I looked at Chloe's tired face and felt the weight of that decision settle heavier than before. She finally asked, "Are you mad at her?" I answered honestly, "I'm disappointed." Chloe nodded like she understood more than a 7-year-old should. "Will she give it back?" "I didn't promise anything. We'll see what happens." I stood up and poured her a small cup of water from the fridge. She drank it slowly. The muffled sound of holiday music drifted in from the yard. Someone had turned the volume up again. I stayed in the kitchen with her until her breathing calmed. No one came inside to check on us. No one knocked on the back door. The party kept going without interruption. Chloe rested her head on her arms on the table. Her eyes were red, but the worst of the crying had passed. I rubbed small circles on her back and thought about the single call I would make later. The decision felt clear now. One action. No shouting, no scene in front of the family. Just the next logical step. The backyard had grown quieter by 9:15. Most of the neighbors had said their goodbyes and headed home. Only a few close relatives remained, helping pack up the leftover snacks. I waited until the last car door slammed shut outside. Then I slipped out the side entrance and walked straight to my own vehicle parked along the curb. The night air felt sharp against my face. I climbed into the driver's seat, closed the door, and locked it. My phone screen lit up the dark interior. I scrolled to the contact for the bank that held the car loan. The customer service line was still open for evening hours. I dialed and waited through the short automated menu. A woman answered on the third ring. Her voice was professional and calm. I gave her my full name, account number, and the loan details. She verified my identity with the security questions I had set up years ago. I need to remove myself as co-signer on the vehicle loan for Abigail Shaw, I said evenly. She typed on her end. Are you requesting a full release from the obligation? Yes. She explained the process in clear steps. The bank would notify the primary borrower within the hour. A temporary hold would be placed on the vehicle until the loan was either refinanced solely in Abigail's name or paid in full. My liability would end immediately upon confirmation. I answered every question she asked without hesitation. She confirmed the request had been processed and emailed me the reference number. The entire call lasted less than 10 minutes. I ended the call and set the phone on the passenger seat. The dashboard clock showed 9:27. I sat there for another moment, staring at the steering wheel. No anger surged through me. No second thoughts, just the quiet certainty that this was the only move I needed to make. Inside the house, Chloe had fallen asleep on the couch, with a blanket pulled up to her chin. I had checked on her before stepping out. She looked peaceful now. The earlier tears dried on her cheeks. I started the engine and waited for the heater to warm up. The street was almost empty. A few strands of lights still glowed on the houses across the road. My phone stayed silent for now. I knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. The bank had said the notification would go out right away. My phone rang at 10 o'clock sharp. The screen showed Abigail's name. I let it ring twice before answering. Her voice came through sharp and breathless. Megan, what the hell did you do? I kept my tone even. What do you mean? The bank just called me. They said the car is on a temporary hold because you removed yourself as co-signer. They want the entire $28,000 refinanced in my name alone or paid off immediately. How could you do this tonight? I stayed quiet for a second. Headlights from a passing car swept across my windshield. Abigail didn't wait for an answer. They locked the ignition remotely. I can't even start the damn thing. The kids are in the backseat crying because we're stuck in the driveway. This is insane. I can't qualify for that loan by myself right now. I listened to her rapid breathing on the other end. She continued, voice rising. Mom and Dad are going to hear about this. You embarrassed me in front of the whole family earlier, and now this? I took a little money for the kids' Christmas. It wasn't that much compared to what you owe me for all the times I've helped you. I finally spoke. The money you took belonged to Chloe. Abigail let out a short laugh. Chloe is 7. She'll get over it. But this car is how I get to work, how I take the kids to school. You're ruining everything over a stupid jar? The line crackled as she moved around. I heard one of her children asking why the car wouldn't start. She lowered her voice slightly. Fix this, Megan. Call the bank back and tell them it was a mistake. I'll even give Chloe some of the money back tomorrow. Just make it right. I looked out at the quiet street. The holiday lights on the neighboring houses had started to turn off one by one. I'm not calling them back, I said. Abigail's voice cracked. You can't be serious. This is going to destroy my credit. The bank said the hold could lead to repossession if it's not resolved quickly. Do you understand what that means for me? I understood exactly. She kept talking, switching between anger and pleading. I let her finish without interrupting again. When she finally paused for air, I ended the call with a simple click. The phone went silent in my hand. Less than 10 minutes after I hung up, my parents' number flashed across the screen. I answered on the second ring. Wayne's voice came through first, tight with frustration. Megan, your sister is beside herself. She just called us in tears. What is this nonsense about you pulling out of the car loan? Joan jumped in before I could respond. We raised you better than this. Abigail told us the bank locked her car with the kids still inside. She's stranded in her own driveway. This is cruel, especially right after the holidays. I kept my grip steady on the steering wheel. I removed myself as co-signer. That was my right. Wayne exhaled loudly. Your right? After everything we've done for you? Your sister has been struggling since the divorce. That money from Chloe's jar was supposed to help her kids have a decent Christmas. You're punishing her over pocket change. She took $2,400 right in front of my daughter and told her it was fair, I said. Joan's tone sharpened. Children get disappointed all the time. You're blowing this out of proportion. Now fix the loan situation before it gets worse. Abigail says the bank mentioned possible repossession. Do you want your nieces and nephew to lose their only transportation? I listened to their breathing on the speaker. The heater in my car hummed softly. Wayne continued. We expect you to call the bank first thing tomorrow and reverse this. Family doesn't treat family this way. You owe your sister that much. I don't owe her anything, I replied. A long pause followed. Then Abigail's voice joined the call. She must have been on the line with them the whole time. You're really gonna let me lose the car over one stupid jar? She asked, voice thick. I already said I'd give some back. What more do you want? I answered without raising my voice. Nothing. I want nothing from you anymore. Joan started to protest, but I cut in calmly. We are done. No more loans, no more favors, no more family dinners where my daughter gets treated like her feelings don't matter. From tonight forward, none of you contact me or Chloe unless it's an absolute emergency involving her health. And even then, only through text. Wayne's voice rose. Megan, you can't just cut us off like this. I just did. I ended the call. The screen went dark. A moment later, Abigail's number appeared again. I declined it. Then my parents tried once more. I declined that too. The inside of the car felt very still. I sat in the car a few more minutes after the last call ended. The street had gone completely quiet. Only the faint glow from a neighbor's porch light remained. I stepped back inside the house through the side door. The kitchen light was still on. Chloe was curled up on the couch in the living room, blanket tucked under her chin. Her breathing was slow and even. I watched her for a long moment before I sat down on the edge of the cushion. She stirred when I brushed her hair back. Mom? I'm here, I said softly. She rubbed her eyes and sat up a little. Did Aunt Abigail give the money back? I shook my head. No. But we won't need anything from her or from Grandpa and Grandma anymore. Chloe studied my face. Are we still going to see them? Not for a long time, I answered. Maybe never again in the same way. That's okay. We have each other. She thought about that, then nodded slowly. My jar is empty. I know. We'll start a new one tomorrow. Just you and me. And this time no one else will touch it. Chloe leaned against my side. I wrapped an arm around her small shoulders. The house felt warmer now that the party noise had disappeared. Later that night, I checked my phone one last time. There were 7 missed calls from Abigail, 4 from my parents, and 2 voice messages I didn't open. I blocked all 3 numbers. The silence that followed felt final. Abigail's car remained locked in her driveway for 3 days until the bank arranged a tow. She couldn't refinance the loan on her own with her current credit and income. Within a week, the vehicle was repossessed. Her credit score dropped more than 100 points, almost overnight. She lost the reliable transportation she needed for work and school runs. Friends and co-workers started hearing the story, and distance grew. My parents tried reaching out through other relatives for a few weeks, but I never responded. They eventually stopped. The family group chat went quiet after I left it. Chloe and I spent the rest of the holiday season doing simple things together. We made hot chocolate at home, drove around looking at lights in our own neighborhood, and started saving again with a new jar on the kitchen counter. She never asked about her aunt or grandparents again. I never regretted the single move I made that night. Some lines, once crossed, stay crossed. And protecting my daughter was worth every consequence.